When you look at what mobile money has been able to do, very securely allow cross-border traders to carry their money on a mobile phone with access to a MasterCard equivalent card that is linked to their mobile wallets, and immediately you see formalization of cross-border merchandising, formalization of cross-border trade. So a lot of what technology has been able to do is bridge the gaps, bridge the barriers around creation of employment, around entrepreneurship, and has allowed us to be able to contribute to the fiscus, to the growth of the economy through technological platforms that have by and large contributed to the growth of Western countries who are very much service-oriented. If you look today at Europe, Northern Europe, if you look at the United States, manufacturing is not the core thing, but service orientation is the core thing. And we are seeing very much with the penetration of technology, service orientation becoming the new employer, becoming the new connotation and the new model to entrepreneurship, and becoming by and large what is supporting our economies in Africa today. So I hope as we sit here today, as an organization that promotes employment, labor, as we are the policymakers today, we start to look at these trends that are shifting very much in the way that employers employ young people, in the way that young people are employed, promoting risk-taking around innovation, allowing the new employees today, allowing the new laborers today to shift from the traditional connotations of employment and encouraging very much the nuances of digital geographical reach and basically disruption. Thanks very much indeed. I think I have maybe just about 2 minutes for a few questions, but I hope this has been insightful.
Thank you, Natalie. All right, first question up, Mr. Sabenda.
Yes, do you believe that the governments may be over-legislating and stifling innovation? Just to put it in context quickly for you, I've been lucky to work in a country which had no government for 16 years, and I was helping set it up and stifled innovation in the process. But they had the fastest internet in Africa, faster than Johannesburg, and they had the best money transfer system. This was 10 years ago. You could put money here, and a few seconds later, someone is withdrawing 10,000 US dollars at the other end. And the person receiving the money didn't even have any form of identification. So, but we put in a government and then started stifling that. Your experience, do you feel that maybe too much legislation is actually stifling innovation in these sectors?
Regulation can definitely be a barrier to facilitating and enabling, obviously, technological advancements in a lot of governments, especially our African governments. But what I often advocate for is to say that public-private partnerships are what will solve this. Where you have private sector working hand in hand with public sector and educating and allowing and private sector very much on the forefront and educating public sector and allowing them to see the impact that digitization can have to our service industries. I think a very good example of that is Zimbabwe. I think the growth in EcoCash cannot ignore the place of the regulator. I think we have a regulator that has been very much fast to learn. We have a regulator that has very much been able to facilitate for innovation. But I think, again, we see here a case in point where private sector has very much been able to handhold the regulator, and the two have been able to see a common objective. It cannot be done in isolation. And so private sector cannot leave it simply to regulation, but it is on onus of private sector, on public sector, and their partnerships to be able to see the growth of digitization and disruption for the benefit of the economy.
Thank you.
Well, I think you partly answered what I wanted to ask, but I wish the Honorable Minister of Finance was here. His problem is trying to get money from informal enterprises. And I think the answer is not in putting more regulation and more taxation. It's in providing incentives and a reason why formalization is the best thing for that business. And I think you have the model that's actually providing, for example, traders the opportunity to do their business much more efficiently and generate more revenue for themselves, and therefore a greater incentive to formalize. And I think the partnership between yourselves as private sector and the government are what will generate the real practical solutions that will allow government to actually benefit from formalization. So I hope that by this we can encourage stronger partnership between the private sector and the public sector to find creative and sustainable solutions of working with informal enterprises.
Couldn't agree more. I think you're spot on.
Thank you. There seems to be congruence there. I'm going to have to go to a lady. We need to have some gender balance. Hold that flight, Natalie.
Hello, my name is Jane Maigwa from ILO, Nairobi. My question is, and thank you for the very inspiring presentation. My quick question is about your comment on the digital divide there is, and particularly to women entrepreneurs and girls. And do you think there is enough that is being done to bridge this digital divide?
I think there is a lot more that can be done, especially if you look at statistics across Africa that tell you that over 50% of women are the ones that actually contribute to the growth of the economy. First of all, as employees, secondly, as business people. If you look today at the savings pool that are being driven on the African continent, over 60% of it is coming from women. Women are, unfortunately, in our African context, are the ones that have lagged behind, especially in terms of technology. 1 in 3 women, tend to be an engineer amongst a cloud of men. And we've seen a lot of initiatives, I think, in the Western countries where STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics is being very much encouraged amongst women, because once women are able to innovate in technology, we also empower them. So there's a correlation very much between empowerment of women around technology, around education, and the ability to be able to drive markets. There is still quite a lot that we should be able to do. And I'm grateful to say that I'm one of those statistics where I have a background of engineering, computer engineering as a woman, and my advocacy, around Africa is that we have more and more women taking up science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and this will really drive, empowerment for women and also entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Natalie. We have one last question from a woman. Patience.
Thank you. My question is on the affirmative action for the youth. Do you have space, for instance, for the youth in EcoCash merchants, for instance, like at least 10% or 20% should be a certain age so that they become entrepreneurs in their own right? Thank you.
I think that is very, very noteworthy. And those are things that we continue to look at. If you look at one of our products that we have recently launched, the group savings clubs, largely inspired and targeting the woman populace in Zimbabwe. And if you look at the woman populace in Zimbabwe that's saving, over 35% of that populace is actually young women. And then if you also look at one of the programs that we're spearheading, especially in the rural areas, where we're employing what we call community technology ambassadors, that is largely focused on employing young people to drive our EcoCash business. We continue to do it, and thank you for stressing again upon it. Hopefully in a few years' time, we'll be talking exactly on what our focus on women, our focus on young people has done for our business. Thank you.
Natalie, thank you so much.